Hi there, I'm Dr. Jenny Grant Rankin coming to you from Laguna Beach, California, and I'm honored to be part of this interview. Teacher burnout occurs when a teacher feels physically and emotionally exhausted because he or she has been doing a difficult job for a long time and sustaining a lot of stress. One is that the teachers have a sense of hopelessness, whereas before they probably had a very positive attitude. They're starting to feel like their efforts are futile, or like no matter how hard they work, they just can't get ahead. Feelings of exhaustion as exhibited through their statements or through just their demeanor, or even the work that they are turning out can all be symptoms of teacher burnout. Expressing feelings of hopelessness, being less excited about new endeavors. It really can be spotted by the teacher's attitude and performance, as the teacher tends to struggle when he or she is experiencing burnout. Well, there are a few things. One, there is a lot of attention in the literature out there on things like mindfulness, practicing meditation, yoga, taking a break whenever possible. So a lot of the focus in the literature is on mindset and the teacher's behavior. And those are all very important. Those do help a lot with burnout. However, one part that's just as important, but is not given as much focus in the literature out there, is the fact that if a teacher is doing a difficult job and hitting certain obstacles on an ongoing basis, there is much that can be done to improve the work environment. And if you don't improve the work environment and you only work on teaching the teacher to have a better attitude about a difficult work environment, then you're not setting the teacher up for success. You're asking the teacher to sustain a very difficult professional life. So even while things like meditation and mindfulness can be very helpful, and those are definitely things to pursue, the teacher should also pursue, and the administrators and the environment around the teacher, supervisors and whatnot, should pursue establishing a better work environment. Things like collaboration can be a huge asset in fighting teacher burnout, because if each teacher is creating his or her own lessons, even though the teachers are all teaching the same thing in different parts of a school or a school district or whatever terminology is used in each country, if each teacher is sort of recreating the wheel, so to speak, then you're asking the teachers to do duplicate work. Whereas if teachers collaborate, even from school to school, if they collaborate and conquer work tasks as a team, then it drastically cuts the teacher's workload. So collaboration can be a big help. Also, any pain points at a school, it's quite individual what teachers are struggling with. There are different areas, and in my book on this topic and in my research, I've identified the different areas that can be stressful for teachers, but it depends on the teacher and the school. For example, one teacher might struggle a lot with student behavior and classroom management, whereas another teacher might be fine in those areas, but maybe the administration is very toxic. The supervisors are not listening to the teachers and are not supporting the teachers. So it's important for teachers to identify what their pain points are and in what area they are struggling, so that they can work on improving those things. Another thing that can help tremendously is advocacy. Teachers getting together and having a voice and speaking up about problems, and speaking up not just at the school site, but having a voice outside of the school, participating in conferences and speaking in webinars and being part of the larger teaching community, the global teacher community, can help give teachers that empowerment, that sense of purpose, can renew the teacher's vigor, because they're getting affirmation for their knowledge, whereas being a teacher in a classroom is a very lonely job if you don't participate in activities outside of school. And you can free up time for that through things like collaboration and also prioritizing and purging what doesn't have to be done. Sometimes teachers do need a break, such as a sabbatical or a mental health day. That is possible, but there is also much that the teacher can do with stopping negative thinking patterns, thinking patterns that are in line with a sense of hopelessness that's very common with teacher burnout, are really defeating for teachers and really just allow them to sink farther into that burnout. So one practice is every time the teacher catches himself or herself having negative thoughts like, those students will never learn. That's not true, right? But it's a very defeatist mindset. When the teacher catches that thought, to replace that negative thought with 3 positives, 3 things that are going well. It's also helpful for teachers to vent to others and to get time with other teachers. For example, some teachers give so much to their students that their lunch is open to students. They have their classroom open to students during lunchtime, but they're not taking that time with colleagues, whereas that time with colleagues for healthy venting about problems is really helpful. Now, I say healthy venting because studies have shown that if a teacher is talking negatively with someone else who's also talking negatively, and it just becomes a negative sort of gripe session for complaining, as research shows that that's not helpful. But to vent with other teachers who are going through the same thing, but who are also focused on solutions and can work together on advocacy. For example, let's talk to our administrator like that. Let's talk to district representatives or community representatives to really solve problems on a bigger scale so that the work doesn't continue to be as difficult. Those things are very important. Also, as I mentioned, just improving the work environment is just as important as having a healthy attitude about the work environment. So treatments go in all those categories. I do want to mention my book on this topic, which is First Aid for Teacher Burnout. And I have my most recent book, Sharing Your Education Expertise with the World, also helps teachers with that advocacy outside of the classroom that can really help improve the profession and give teachers a sense of affirmation for their struggles. I would also recommend some different resources out there. For example, the Teaching Well, which is online. I would also the Teach Well Alliance. There is a base camp where teachers can vent that's really helpful. Happy Teacher Revolution is another one, and the Others Duties to Infinity Facebook page is excellent and is loaded with great resources for teachers. And of course, I would recommend my own website. I have a lot of free resources on there, and my website is www.jennyrankin.com. So there are lots of resources out there, and there are lots of teachers talking about this. And the more that teachers talk about this, the more we can get others in the education ecosystem to talk about it, such as researchers, policymakers, supervisors, administrators, so that we can not only help teachers weather a very difficult job, but also improve the profession and make it more realistic to be a sustainable profession. Because right now, 41% of teachers leave within the first 5 years of the profession. About 10% of teachers leave every single year, and this is an equity issue because it goes up to 10 to 15%. It goes up to 20% in poor neighborhoods where students really need us most. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the honor of participating in this interview.